Namaskaram to all our viewers. It is my privilege and honor to have Dr. Ramachandran Nagaswamy, also known as Dr. Nagaswamy, Padma Bhushan Awardee on our channel. Dr. Nagaswamy, Namaskaram and welcome to P Guru's channel.
Namaskaram, namaskaram.
Viewers, Dr. Nagaswamy is a 90 years young gentleman. He has just recently published a new book called the Dharma Yoga, and it is regarding this book and to talk a little bit more about how an Indian law code that ruled the ancient world. We are going to talk about that. This book is going to be available in bookstores in very, very short amount of time. It also is going to be available on Amazon. Stay tuned. We will be doing more interviews and information on this one. But Dr. Nagaswamy, can you please share with our viewers the influence of this on West Asia and what used to be the Europe region?
Any civilization is based on philosophy and strict discipline. In India, we have the earliest collection of poems called the Vedas. The date of these poems is not decided yet, it's debated. But it ranges from about 3500 BC to almost 1500 BC. The terminal date, according to learned men, is about 1500 BC. This dharma includes this Vedic dharma. It includes poetry, rituals, and philosophy. Samhita, and then we have Yajurveda, which speaks about the rituals, and then Upanishads, which speaks about the what you call philosophy. Now, Upanishads, many Upanishads are there. There, some of them are very, very important Upanishads, and some are minor Upanishads. One of the earliest and major Upanishad is Taittiriya Upanishad, and it has a beginning where the teacher advises the student who has completed his studies, and he goes back to his home to get married. A code of conduct which he mentioned in that Taittiriya Upanishad, Shiksha Valli. Shiksha means teaching. So Shiksha Valli is a chapter on teaching how one should behave in his personal life and also in his collective life in the community. Now, this Shiksha Valli begins with how to pronounce a word, how to compose poetry, and how to communicate the philosophy. So it starts with what is called Varnaswaraha, Matra Balam, Samasantanaha. These three are short sutras. It says how you pronounce phonetic system, how you combine these aksharas, what are called aksharas, vowels, and consonants. You combine them into words, and you combine the words into sentences. This is what is mentioned in these three sutras, what are called sutras. Then it also speaks about how one should behave. That is the philosophy. Then it starts saying, the student goes to the teacher and says, "Sir, I have completed my study, I would like to go back." And he says, Satyam Vada, speak the truth when you go out. Always. Satyam Vada, Dharmam Jara, observe the code of conduct. This is most important. Satyam Vada, Dharmam Jara, Swadhyayam na pramuditavyam. You should not forget your own studies in whichever field you specialize. You continue to study that. So, na pramuditavyam. Don't move away from that study. Matrudevo bhava. Adore your mother as God. Matru Devo Bhava. Pitru Devo Bhava. Adore your father as God Himself. Matru Devo Bhava. Pitru Devo Bhava. Acharya Devo Bhava. Consider your teacher as also God. Acharya Devo Bhava. Atiti Devo Bhava. यान्यानि कर्माणि अनवद्यानि तानि सेवितव्यानि. Whatever profession you take, that must be honest, adorable, and you must follow that, not other blemish works of blemish. You should not accept. So you do honest work. Now this goes on. Then at the end it says, this is my order. Yesha adesaha. This is what you should follow. And this is my order. Then it doesn't say with force, it says encouragingly the student, Yesha upadesaha. This is an advice. So both combined, you must do it, and it's also take it as my advice. Yesha upadesaha. So this is the most important part of Taittiriya Upanishad, the first part called Shikshavalli, where Satya and Dharma and adoration of your parents and accepting noble acts, noble profession, and continue to do whatever system or profession you are specializing, continue to do it. And this is what is called dharma. There are other passages in other Upanishads also where you have such teachings, but this is the most important, which gives emphasis to Satyam and Dharma. So, what is Dharma? Dharma is defined in Sanskrit tradition as Dharanat Dharmam Ityuktam. That which sustains civilization is called Dharmam. It consists of many qualities. So all these qualities are collected and composed or compiled into what we call a Shastra, which is called Dharma Shastra by Manu. He is the most ancient lawgiver, or what we may call as the first constitution maker of India. So, Manu's Dharma Shastra is the law of Indian civilization. This is mentioned in all the subsequent literature for more than 3,000 to 4,000 years. Now, Manu law, it's called law, Manu Dharma Shastra. Shastra is enforceable. So it is act, it is law. Now, this Manu Dharma, he calls it as 10 qualities, basic qualities of individual. If one can follow these basic 10 qualities, then he lives comfortably, intelligently, and in a respectable manner in the society. So he calls it Dharmam Dasaka Lakshanam. Dharma consists of 8 defined qualities. So this is very important. Now, many scholars they consider this is not a law book, but that's not the correct position. The correct position is it speaks about learning, your married life, acquisition of properties, and if there are individual disputes, how these disputes are settled, disputes of property, disputes about man and woman, and theft and crimes, other crimes, and so on. What else it is? It is nothing but law. And I am going to show you later that this is mentioned as law in hundreds of records dating from about 4th, 5th century CE to modern times. So it is the first law book, and this first law book is divided into 10 parts, which is called Dasakam, Dharmam, Dasaka Lakshanam. Lakshanam means definition. Dharmam is the code of conduct, and Lakshanam is Dharma. This is called Dharma.
One question, sir. How is this related to the 10 commandments? That is, one of the things that is followed in the West.
It is the only earliest one that is known, and according to there are a number of other law books which came later on, and every one of the later law books they refer to Manu Dharma as the authority, and we have written documents which shows that it was Manu Dharma which was followed all over India, from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, from Bengal to Punjab, and even beyond in all these Southeast Asian countries. And a comparative study will show that it was followed in Eastern Asia, like China, Japan, and other Korea and other places. Central Asia, like places like Uzbekistan, Tashkent, and so on. And then in Western countries, beginning from what we call Punjab region to Afghanistan, Balochistan, and other Bactria, what you call Greek countries, Assyria, Sumeria, in all these places, right up to London, right up to England, including Europe, the basic tenets of these qualities have spread there. And we have solid evidence to show that these were very much earlier than how and when they were adopted in all those countries. So that is what I am discussing in my book, based on archaeological, inscriptional, numismatic, and reports of visitors, pilgrim, and literature. We see that these basic 10 qualities, dharma, was carried also by through special officers in the time of the Maurya King Ashoka, which proves that this was taken to Western Asia through special officers and ambassadors who were called Mahamatras, Dharma Mahamatras. They were sent to different countries in West Asia. And Ashoka ruled in around 3rd century BC. He mentioned the name of the countries and the ruling kings of Western Asia, beginning from what you call Bactria. It's called Yavana country. And then he calls the king of the Yavana countries. And they are all called Kshatrapas. Kshatrapas. Kshatra is the system. Pas are those who protect it. So This we called it in later time as Chhatrapatis. So Kshatrapas. We have these mentioned in Western Asian countries, the dharma, which begins Satya and other act, also called dharma, which is found right up to Assyria and Sumeria. We have a very, very important treaty between Hittites and Mitannis on the banks of Euphrates in 1280 BCE, where these two countries, Hittite and Mitannis, they entered into a treaty, and it was meant to protect jointly their countries from foreign invasion. And in that, they refer to Mitra, Varuna, Indra, Agni, and Nasatyas. They invoke these deities which are found in the earliest Indian poetry called Rigveda. Mitra worship was very, very popular in Western countries, even up to England, and it continued to be worshipped in the time of what you call the Jews, and later in the time of even after the advent of Christianity, it continued for some time before it was completely eliminated.
So, a couple of clarifications for you viewers. When Dr. Nagaswamy mentions BC or BCE, they both refer to the same thing, which is before Common Era. And then after Common Era is what is called as Common Era, CE. So, Dr. Nagaswamy, Mitra refers to which god?
It used to be before Christ and after Christ, BC and AD. But now, scholars is all over the world, they accept before the Common Era, BCE, and CE means Common Era. That is the beginning of Christianity. They don't want to connect it with any particular religion. So the dating is now done with the help of BCE, before the Common Era, 1283 BCE, that is nearly 3280 years before. In a treaty in Assyria, we have the references to the gods Mitra, Varuna, Indra, and Nasatya, who are referred in their treaty on a clay tablet, I think, which is preserved now in British Museum. So scholars who are specialized in that writing, they have deciphered them, and we find that 3250 years before, Mitra is the god of Satya, Varuna is the god of Dharma, and Nasatyas are medicines who are called Ashwini Devatas. These names are mentioned and invoked so that that region, they wanted that Satya and Dharma, civilized conduct should be there so that they can rule the country properly. Which means that the basic tenet of Dharma mentioned in the Veda and given an embodiment, a form, is mentioned, means not that it came there only at 1230 before the Common Era. It should have been there much earlier. So we find the earliest reference in inscription to civilized law, civilized truthfulness, civilized righteousness, as mentioned in the Veda, is mentioned in Assyrian tablets. That means Western Asia has absorbed this, what you call dharma. Now, if you read what you call Roman history or European history or a Middle East country, you all find quite a large number of these ideas circulating in different forms. We have large number of coins that have been found in recent times. These are extraordinary coins. They are bilingual coins. These coins have on one side, in Bactria, Indo-Greek countries, you have Mesopotamia, Babylonia, Alexandria. In all these places, the Kshatriyas, the governors, have issued these coins. These coins are in gold and silver and some in bronze. Now, these have on one side the portrait of the king, the Greek king, and his name is written there in Greek character on the obverse. But on the reverse, from about 3rd century BC onwards, we find a script called Kharoshthi. It was used for writing Prakrit language. Prakrit language is the spoken language which became refined and came to be called Sanskrit. And this was done by one great scholar, Panini, who made this a classical language, a Sanskrit. But the coins have on the reverse, in many coins, we have the name of the Greek kings written in Prakrit language in a script called Kharoshthi. Now, this Kharoshthi script and Prakrit language was used by Ashoka Maurya, who ruled in the 3rd century, and he sent, as I told you, ambassadors to all these countries with special instruction to carry the dharma, teaching of dharma to all these places. And what is amazing is that on one side we have the Greek name in Greek characters, and on the reverse you have Kharoshthi, and the language is Prakrit, right up to Alexandria.